So, g'day, we are here from the Valve Bounce to do the Formula One Grand Prix review. Wow, George Russell won, but I guess the focus is squarely going to be on that McLaren pair who decided to collide in the front straight. G'day, Steve. Welcome.
G'day, Damo. Welcome, everyone, to the Valve Bounce. Yes, it's the Canadian GP review. Russell has won. Norris had some pace, but he ran into the back of his teammate. And a little bit of British bias, perhaps, on not really getting stuck into him. Antonelli gets his maiden podium, Damo. Groundhog Day for Lewis Hamilton, who absolutely cleaned that thing up.
And by his admission, he didn't even realize that he'd hit one. Of course, being the old animal lover and the vegan, he was probably playing the card of, I didn't notice, but yeah. That was not good.
I'm sure he was crying himself to sleep after that one. That's no good. Another Groundhog. May it rest in peace.
May it rest in peace. Solid start. I love it. Nice work.
Well, before we do that, mate, maybe we should skip to the preview.
To the preview? Are we going to preview? Or we're going to review? Let's do a review, mate.
Sleep. We are solid, Damo. If there's nothing else, you can count on us to fuck it up.
Yep. So there we go. Let's do a little bit of a review. And I guess we'll start with the big positive. Obviously, George Russell gets it done.
Hey, Georgie! The British media go ballistic. Yay!
Yeah. They still love Lando more, I think. But
yeah,
Russell did it in the quali, like really outshone and outpaced himself. Did a fantastic job in the qualifying. And then backed it up with a really solid race and, made use of the clear air and looked after his tyres. But, geez, those Mercs are fast in the cold weather, aren't they?
They love a bit of cool weather, Damo. They love it. Like, they just eat it up. And I think this track particularly is well suited to their car. I mean, they seem to always go well here. So he didn't look too strong in the early runnings of the practice and so forth, but definitely once quali came, got it done. And this is the Monaco of Montreal.
Not sure it's that bad, but yeah, he really did manage it, like during the race, managed the pace well, did what he had to do, really sort of just took it upon himself, I guess, to work to the advantage of the track because, it is a little hard to overtake, especially when your cars, there's not much variable between them as from some of the other stuff that happened. It isn't easy to get past. And so I think, overall, you'd have to give him a good solid 8 out of 10. I think he did a great job, even if we don't like him.
Rough. I think you can give him a 9. I mean, the guy executed when he needed to execute and got the win. So I think he had a pretty solid weekend. I'm happy for George. I'm happy for the Mercedes team. And I'm happy for Antonelli because he was the focus of everyone. The fact that he scored his maiden podium.
Nothing takes the shine off a win for George than Antonelli getting his first podium. So that was awesome. I mean, how good is it to have Kimi finally get a podium? And I guess really the success story is not just the podium, but the Merc being fast and him being able to capitalize and still, grab a result from it. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was still a little bit of a way off of him in qualifying, but I think everyone was really, like, even Piastri was a good chunk behind, and we'll touch on Lando Norris's efforts in quali, which let's just try this a little. How do you find the coaching of Lando Norris? Did you not hear the coaching from the team when he made the monumental fuck up in the chicane? And then they're like, "It's all right, Lando, just hit your braking markers and you'll be fine."
It's like, thanks, engineering team, because that's basically my only job is to hit my braking markers and turn the wheel so I can achieve the best lap possible. I did miss that one, but like,
so good.
That's embarrassing a little. He really was suffering. Quickly on that, the McLarens were off the pace anyway. and then even when, and I guess this ties into the Kimi making the most of a good car, even when you have a good car and maybe it's not, you still need to maximize it. That's how you become a champion.
Yep.
And at the critical moment in that third session of quali, just outdid himself.
Yeah, it's a theme at the moment. And I almost feel sorry for him, but I don't. It's really hard. I've seen some really rough comments online in the last few days. And I don't think it's deserved. Like in some cases, I think it's a little too rough, a little bit beyond of what should be. I know we rib him and we have a bit of fun here, and that's fine, but I think there's a couple of people starting to fucking go off the charts a bit. Need to calm down and pull it back.
Yeah. I mean, it was always going to happen, I think. But yeah, I can only understand a little bit because he is making his own bed, and so he does have to line it a little bit, right? So there is a bit of that, but it wouldn't hurt. Especially some of those there's some rough stuff out there that's just a bit unnecessary. But let's quickly just touch on the Lando and the Oscar Piastri incident, shall we? Because we did mention the McLarens were off the pace. They were probably really pushing all through quali. Oscar outdid Lando. Obviously, Lando made the mistake, even though he was probably going to be faster if he put the lap together. But in the end of the day, you've got to make it there. And so then their qualifying positions really just highlighted that this is the way that it's happening at the moment with the championship, and that Lando's just not getting it done. And then the race, Lando does a good job, gets himself back into the game. He's got some pace, especially in that portion of the Grand Prix. Seemed to be, just making headway against Oscar.
Yeah, look, I think it was a bit lucky in the end. When because Oscar got to the back of Antonelli, and I know there's a bunch of people go, he really tried to battle Antonelli. It wasn't. He never really got in position to properly have a go.
They couldn't really get him.
No, and then when they hit the back markers, that really slowed the pair down, and that allowed Lando to really tack on the back end of Oscar. So I've seen some takes of, you're so much faster in Oscar. I'm like, yeah, but when you're in dirty air, you're less grip, so you're going slower. You're overheating your tires, and you're going slower again. Like there's a lot of things and factors at play. Lando got to the back of him, did the right thing, absolutely attacked from the outset, tried to get past before, degradation on his tires and overheating of the car and everything else. And they had a great squabble. That move down into the hairpin, that was pretty good.
It was he was trying to send it nice and early, like to try to catch Oscar off guard. So it was the right thing to do. Did overcook it, went a bit deep. And it was all fair. I think it was a good move. Couldn't execute it. Oscar came back in on the inside, and they gave him both DRS because they're still in touch with Kimi, and side by side into the final chicane, mate. And
last of the late breaks.
Oscar pulled almost a whole car length on that late break.
And I think there's two things at play there. Just to be fair to Lando. Okay. One, no. I think Lando actually hit the brake slightly earlier to allow Oscar through because he didn't want to have contact.
Yep.
But two, Oscar went late thinking Lando was going to go late as well. So that really exaggerated that line. But it was still a very good brake, and he pulled it up perfectly. He got through. Yes, Lando had the run, but he was always going to have the run. When he compromised going into those little chicanes, that's going to happen. And then we get to the start-finish line, and the trajectory of Oscar's car is moving across to the left, and then Lando follows.
What the fuck?
And then just nails him.
Yeah. Just had the run, was always going to end up in the wrong place. I don't know, like just to talk about there was only one person in the media kind of environment that I saw that has not recognized that Lando just screwed up, and that was Villeneuve, who seems to want to pop in and say that Oscar has to take some of the blame. But if you actually watch the video, his trajectory is always pushing to that left line. Yep. He was always going to do that to protect the left-hander for turn 2,
turn
technically.
1 and 2,
yeah, technically. But that first the sharp left-hander.
Yep.
And it just makes perfect sense that, okay, you can see the cars hedging towards that way. Why don't you just try to push back into the right? You've got a right-hander after the left for turn 2, 3. Yep. So just try and get that position. It was just and look, he admitted it. He came on the, and rightly or wrongly, the way that he handles things, he was straight on the radio. He goes, "It's my bad. I screwed up." But I just, you watch on board, and you just never felt like that was the right way to go. I don't know why it happened.
I think what happened is, I know we've spoken about, Lando's moments in his head and everything else, right? But this screams to me being indecisive. So he's decided that he's going to go that way, but then right as he gets to the back of him and he realizes that everything's closed, he's like, where am I going to go? And instead of just diving right, he commits wholeheartedly to nothing and just runs clean up the back of him. And I can relate a little bit to this, because on the weekend I had a race where I had a competitor brake very late, as I broke very late into turn 1, and he deliberately let off the brake to push me wide, right, so that I wouldn't be able to get back under him. But I was smart enough to actually apply the brake and get back under him. So you need to be decisive enough in your own brain in what you're doing, right? If something's not working out, you need to click to the second and not second guess it. You've just got to go with it. You've made the decision and go. And I think that's where Lando's he second guesses those moments, which is why he ends up having those impacts with like Max and now with Oscar. And I feel for him, but it's something he has to work through if he does want to, really, really challenge, because he's just cost himself 12 points. Now, that's lucky, because if that had been for the lead, then it's cost him 25 points. So, I don't know. That's my take on it.
Yep.
Other people I have seen, Jacques Villeneuve for one, that can I just say, the faster they remove Jacques and the faster they remove Danica, the better the coverage will be. Those two add absolutely sweet FA to the coverage. They talk utter rubbish. And I am actually thinking that Jacques has a mental problem, like he's had one too many concussions.
Yeah, it does sometimes feel that way, the way he, like, something like this that was it was just so clear, and you just didn't see anyone, apart from really hardcore social media fans of Lando, right? But everyone else was in agreement, so it was just clean cut. And then when he drops stuff like this, you're just like, maybe you're right. Maybe it is too many knocks, too many crashes, or something that's didn't. I mean, Danica is the biggest waste of space. I wish they would get like Jamie Chadwick or whatever, like the
back. She's very good.
Like, she's really good. If they want the female representation, pick the good ones. Don't.
Yeah.
There's
plenty out there. There's plenty of good ones out there. Just pick one. Don't pick the one that's. Yeah. I mean, I suppose they do it because what happens is everyone gets the knickers in a twist. They jump online. They start banging on about how Danica can't do this or how Jax is talking shit, and they get the coverage.
Yep.
So they just continue running it. But it's
true.
At the same time, that's not good for the sport, in my opinion, anyway. No. It's not that it has to be always positive, but it's not very nice for them when they're sounding like idiots and then getting smashed.
Well, I think, like, you look at Rosberg, he seems to do it in a positive way, right? He's adding value to the conversation, but also just calling things out as he needs to and as he sees them.
Yeah.
I
just can't stand his voice. Not that I say that I can't stand my own voice, but
true. Yes.
Listening to him, it drives me Batty. I'm like, Nico, shut up.
And the Nico curse, of course, where he takes a selfie and ends up causing problems. It was up again, so good work. He always takes photos of people in the selfies, and they're the ones that either crash out or break down. And the selfie he took was up the start-finish line at the wall and the place where the two McLarens collided. So, that's the funny part of it. And let's get on to the not so funny part, the bit that really grinds my gears.
There we go.
So, in what world does someone have an accident where they're deemed at fault and yet get no penalty points against their license? Any other driver, let's pick a Max Verstappen. He would be without
any penalty points.
He got none. He got a 5-second or whatever it was penalty, but no penalty points. And look, the FIA is not British bias. And I know you can make the joke about being British bias, but there has to be a bias against him. And if there isn't, then they're really stupid in not thinking about how it would look if they don't apply a penalty that everybody else in the field, when they cause a crash, gets a penalty point, at least one.
Well, that is a penalty point or 3. You've run into a competitor in a straight line. That's penalty points all day. If you're going to give max penalty points for the Russell incident, they are not the same, but they are still comparable in terms of the contact. And you could argue worse off for Lando, regardless of whether he's out of the race or not. That's still penalty points because it's erratic driving. You've driven into a competitor, almost willingly, rightly or wrongly, whether you did it on purpose or not. Which I'm not saying you did it on purpose at all, but you didn't do anything to get out of it. So,
I'm totally lost by it, and I think there's not a lot of people talking about it, but some people are. There's a bit online and things, but it's so confusing as a avid or a punter that's watching, and someone that's probably a bit more than the regular, just tune in a little bit. I know enough to know that every other driver that's had that kind of crash has had a penalty point. So why is it not being applied? So,
I mean, you've had Mazepin have spins and hit the wall and get penalty points for that, not actually take anyone out. So
you're right.
So if you're hitting something hitting a competitor, that regardless of whether it's your teammates or not, it's a penalty. I didn't realize that. That's kind of ridiculous, and it's not going to change now. They're not going to go back on it and go, oh, here's a penalty point.
No,
but they'll stand by it and die by their sword. But
they will.
That's just annoying, Damo. So let's move on now from trying to kill your teammate to killing the wildlife, and talk about Ferrari. And they did salvage a result, but it's not looking great. And the strategies, they're not great. And Leclerc sounds horrible over the radio. Everyone sounds like they're shitty with each other.
Yes. Yeah. The strategy, I mean, when you're in the car as the driver, and look, we don't get all of it telecast, so we don't always know, right? But when they say, hey, let's try plan B, and then Charles like, hey, I reckon we can do plan C, I think that's the best option. And then the next thing you know, it's just he's complaining about being on plan B. And at some point, the strategy team, there's got to be some accountability, or the engineers, the actual driver engineers, have to take accountability through either not being able to communicate well with the drivers, or the strategy team getting the strategy wrong, and it's being passed through, and it's causing problems for the drivers. It's causing race results in some regards. It's getting a little out of hand, and it was just fortunate that I think the pace of the Ferrari was not quite up there, but it was good enough for them to drag a result. And Lewis, fortunate in the way it all kind of panned out, that he managed to with 20 points of downforce lost, whatever that is. Yeah, he managed to still secure a fifth or whatever it was. So, it's like, I don't know what's going on at Ferrari, but I wonder at what point is it going to come to a head, and there's going to be arguments on the radio or fights, breaking out.
The problem with bloody Ferrari, like, I know it's going to happen. They're going to sack Vasseur, and they're going to say, "Oh, it's all Vasseur's fault," just like they did with what was his name?
The past four,
past four.
A riverbird,
but
sorry, go.
Jeepers creepers! I've forgotten his name. It's really going to do my head in. Anyway, he's head of Sauber at the moment. But the fact Binotto. Oh,
Binotto, thank you. Yep.
Right. So now that I got that out of the way, the problem is it's not actually them. Like Vasseur, there's nothing wrong with Vasseur. The teams, who he's brought in terms of like the drivers and so forth, all fine. The issue lies within the strategy team and people following processes. Why can't they do it? Why can't they strategize not correctly, but just listen, right? You've got 3 or 4 different bloody options, which is probably wrong to begin with. Maybe just take 2, right? 2 for, if it's dry, 2 if it's for wet, 2, whatever. But basically, stick to the strategy. Start it out, have a look where you are and go, okay, I think we're going to try this. How's the car feeling? And if the driver comes back and says, actually, car's feeling great, reckon we should try this. All right, let's go. Don't, like, I get it. Stats and data are great, right? But sometimes you can get so lost in stats and data that you actually just don't read the play. And you need to read the play more than you need to read the data, in my opinion.
And that's what the driver's there, to give you that feedback real time so it can work in conjunction with all the data you've got and make it work. So, it's just it just seems really bizarre because, you obviously had Matteo Binotto, who was there for a few years, and then there was the one I was thinking of, Maurizio Arrivabene is the one. I was combining his first and last names together, and then he got pushed out for Matteo, and then there was like Marco Mattiacci, who was there for just like a single year. That was a nobody, and then the old F1 dude now, Stefano Domenicalo, was there for quite a few years. So. Like they've just gone through too many, and every single one of those is facing the same issue. Mm-hmm. And the core structure of that process that you talked about is where it's all breaking down, and the way Ferrari at a corporate head office level keep intervening, it's just if they get rid of Vasseur, they're in a world of problems. It's just going to keep going. And if I was Leclerc, I'd be out.
Oh, mate, if I was Leclerc, I would have already phoned McLaren and asked if Lando was going to get dropped. I would have called, Red Bull, find out if Verstappen was going to retire. You'd just be phoning around because, I just don't. It is so frustrating as a Ferrari fan, and the fact that the last championship, I was young. We're heading for, it's 18 years this year since they've won a championship, and they're not going to win one this year. So it's 19 years that they're going without one. Yeah. I remember in the 90s, like the mid 90s, when they made the change to get Schumacher and Ross Brawn and all that, like they were crying about like it being 5 or 6 years. And here we are, almost 20 down the track, and it's embedded. It's the team. It's not who's at the head. Well, I mean, you could argue that who's at the head could control it, but the whole team has to buy in, and they don't. Well, from an outsider's perspective, they don't.
Yeah, Nah, spot on. And almost all of their success in the more modern era, like from your Schumacher, and even if you go back to Lauda, like it's the drivers that go in there and that force the change, and then the team principals that come in that kind of make them change their ways is when they're successful. And yeah, the moment they start taking too much control off Fred, then yeah, it's good night. It's 20 plus years.
The one thing I'll say that Fred needs to do, in my opinion, is switch the engineering for Lewis. Like, that is one thing that I think he does need to do right now. Switch engineering for Lewis, because it's clearly not working. So get whoever's in there out and get somebody else in. Yeah. Even if you have to call up Mercedes and try and get Bono out of there.
Snag Bono.
Yeah.
Oh, imagine that. Hammer time. Bono, my tires. Oh, it's the glory days if that was at Ferrari.
Yes. Probably won't happen.
Probably not. And look, probably the last thing that we can just touch on for a bit of sizzle on the Barbie. Steve, was it a deliberate brake check from Russell under the safety car? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Define brake check. So deliberate act, yes. Deliberate.
Okay, we agree. Yep.
Brake check? No, not in the terms of. Only reason I say that is because George was 100% looking in his mirror, saw where Verstappen was, and went, I'm going to nail the brake here. He's going to go past me, and he'll probably get a penalty point.
Yep.
Right? So if a brake check to me is you're in front of a car, and then you just nail the brake, and they almost either hit you or they do hit you. So I don't think it was a brake check in that sense, but it was definitely a coy move that I believe personally should get a penalty point for erratic driving.
Yeah, look. So I believe it was deliberate as well. So we agree on that front. I don't think it should be a penalty, only because in those queues, it is always the responsibility of the person behind to maintain the gaps and to not crash into someone else. And so he has done it deliberately, and I think he's done it just out of a little bit of like Max was trying to push on the outside, and he was, probably George's initial reaction was like, what are you doing here, mate? And he just thought, right, bang on the brake, bang, and then just hits the old radio button, and Max is overtaking me under safety car, And then what was Max doing? Mate, this guy just braked really hard. I don't know what he's doing. Like, firing at each other, trying to send messages to the stewards. But
George had his thumb on the button as he hit the brake. Like, he was like, oh, look what he did.
Look what he did. So I sort of feel like the stewards need to go to Russell and say, that's not on. Like, you can't be erratic. You've got to be smooth behind the pace car, because that behavior causes accidents in the train.
Yeah.
And so I think he needs to have maybe not a penalty, but like a warning. And then if he ever does it again, then bang, just hit him with the points. And Max just needs to just chill out a little bit, mate. You can't be basically on the rear wing when you're following the safety car of someone. And I think, was that the lap that they were going through the pits as well? Or was it the lap after that it happened? I can't remember, but I sort of felt like it was. I sort of felt like it was really risky too because of where they were going. But in any case, like both of them they just love having a bit of a stab at each other, whether it's verbally or on the track.
I mean, they talk about the McLarens coming together, but I think the next time that Verstappen and Russell come together, it's going to be fucking box on.
Spicy.
Much more than the McLaren boys. I think it'll be full NASCAR. I don't know if you watched that cup race on the weekend, but after the race, like there was guys wanting to box on and everything. And I'm like, this is what we need. It's not what we need, but it's what we need.
Yeah. You don't want to see it, but it definitely helps.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
Okay. All right. Well, let's. Oh, you're gonna go.
I was gonna say, do we really need to? I'm just looking at our results. It's It's not looking great. Do we really want to show them our predictions? All right, go to predictions, Damo. Roll the intro. Righto. So our predictions were absolutely atrocious. The actual results were Russell got pole position, Russell won the race, Verstappen finished second, Antonelli got his first podium.
Yep.
And boned it.
Yep. So there are the results. And I had pole Piastri
Winner
win,
Piastri.
Norris and Russell. And you had Verstappen as pole.
Which was close.
That's a good outsider. Yep. And then Piastri for the win, mate. Which we both had. Got a little closer because you had Russell in second. So still no points, but close. And then, of course, Verstappen in third.
You know what? I did say that Norris was going to have a shocker.
You did?
I said he was not going to make it. And I was right. I didn't realize he was going to run into his teammate.
No, well,
but maybe I am Nostradamus after all.
Well, technically, you did say I don't think we're going to see them have a battle until there's a major tire offset. So let's just
the small one.
Wins, losses. You're kind of balancing yourself out there, mate.
Yeah. You sound like Declan with an excuse driver's book.
All drivers have a lot of them, and especially when we're doing YouTube commentary, we can just pull them out wherever we need to.
I'm going to create an actual book that's just excuses.
Just be up and start turning the page.
Yeah. On Article 16 of Chapter 455. Yep.
You sound like an engineer, race engineer there, team manager or something.
Just go faster, Damo. Go faster.
Go faster. Hit your braking markers, mate.
Yeah.
All right.
Very good, mate. Very good.
Beautiful.
I think that's probably going to bring us to an end, is it? Is there anything else that we need to speak about? Or do you want we did have a couple of things going on over the weekend.
It's just worth sort of talking about really quickly, and it's only talk at the moment, but the Thai government have kind of committed just a lazy $1.9 billion to try and hold an F1 race.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they're going to put it in my account. Damn it.
Yeah. Mate, I'll take the 0.9. I'm not going to be greedy.
I know. That'll do me just fine.
But yeah, no, they're out there. So, that'll be one to watch. Early days, and we don't want it to be like the COVID impacted Vietnam, who never, ever had the opportunity to have a race. So, so I just thought I'd throw that in there. And of course, Le Mans was on the weekend.
It was.
And Robert Kubica.
Mate. Old-time favorite from way back when he was early on in the F1 career, and so good to see him get the win. Like, he is probably the most deserved driver of winning something great, and I'm so happy. Ferrari domination. This is the third year in a row. Toyota who? Because since Ferrari's been in nowhere near, the only reason a Porsche was in the mix, Damo, was because of Ferrari's strategy.
I know. There's like just shades. They're doing their best to kind of align with the F1 team, the same look and feel, where they just kept making blunder after blunder, and they're causing themselves all sorts of issues, doing their best to kind of lose the race, making calls, because obviously Kubica was in the kind of customer franchise car, the privateer. And so there was, there's talk that they were trying to get the factory car to win, but they said, no, it wasn't us. But gee, they did a good job of really trying not to win. And yet they still managed to do it, even after the fourth place got disqualified, being underweight post the event. But they did a good job, didn't they?
They did everything that they could to lose it. Lucky they had 24 hours to recover.
That's it. Perfect.
Very good.
Yes. Well, that is all that we've got. I guess we've got a few weeks until the MSC Cruises Austrian GP, and it's at the famous Österreichring. I think that's how you say it. The Red Bull Ring. Yeah. Which is like the I think in translation it's like it's not Germany, you know, and that was what it used to be called in the older
Old days.
language. Yeah, it's not Austria, it's not Germany, something like that.
Yeah,
That's the
all right.
story. Anyway, but that's on the 30th of June, so we've got a couple of weeks to get that one in.
Yes, no, very good. So that one will be a Max dominated track, I'd say.
Oh, you think so?
Early prediction.
He
loves that track.
Well, he does, and I do feel like it's kind of one of those things that he will always go well there. It'll always be something that you know that a Red Bull place they're going to go well, but maybe if we can get Oscar off that C6 tire, maybe we'll have a bit of luck for the old Piastri.
That theory of yours on the C6, I think it sticks.
I think so. I'm not going to say I'm right all the time, but I'm definitely right sometimes. All right. That's about it for us. Keep in touch on the socials. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks. See you, Steve. Bye, everyone.
See you, mate. See you, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.